Hey guys, this is gonna be another video of me doing some recording. So I've had a couple people ask me, about my mission for promoting peace and love, and really ask me like, when did I know that I could love so intensely? And I have a really fun story that I guess I wanted to share with you guys about how I came to terms with what I would be willing to do for love. Um, I was 16 years old, and well, I was 15 years old at the time, and I've never had a real girlfriend, and I was kind of like the nerd, the closed off one, and I played a lot of video games online. I met this girl on this game called Maple Story. Um, I was leader of this really well-renowned guild back then, and once we met, I joked that I would make her my girlfriend, make her fall in love with me, and within a couple of months, it happened. I was 15 years old. I had a girlfriend who lived in California, who I had only known on a video game. After about 6 months of us dating, her mom flew her out to New York, and she spent a couple of days with me. And I met her mom and her, and we were like inseparable at that point. We were like each other's first everything, first kiss, first love. And the relationship went on for a long time, and it was pretty normal, as normal as it can get for two kids dating across country. I lived in Jersey, and she in California. And she flew back and forth, and I flew there a couple times. We dated for a total of almost 2 years, doing long distance, like I said, going back and forth between summers and major holidays, and it was quite nice. Her family was nice. Well, sometime after like around the 2 year mark, I started to becoming suspicious that things didn't make any sense, and I was speaking to her less, and not talking to her as much, and she was growing distant. And I remember one day I called her up and I asked her what she was doing, and she said she couldn't talk, that she had some friends over, and that she was doing homework. So then I let her go, and then something seemed off, so I called her house phone, and I asked her mom if I could speak to her. Her mom said she was watching a movie with her friends. So I was like, oh, that's weird. She told me she was doing homework, and she went, oh, I'll let her call you back. Click. So something didn't feel right, and I went to call her back later on that night. Her phone number wasn't working. And I was like, well, that's strange, right? So I got a hold of her mom, and her mom was like, she doesn't want to speak to you. And I was like, why? At that point, I had not, I just pieced together a suspicion. I was like, something doesn't feel right. But she was like, she doesn't want to talk to you. Click. That was it. They cut me off. I didn't, 16 years old, girlfriend across the country. What could I really do, right? So, stupid ass me, or I guess bold me. She hung up the phone. Her number was changed. I was faced with basically a brick wall. I didn't know what was going on or anything like that. I just knew that I wasn't gonna just sit there and have a door slammed in my face. So, 16 years old, I packed up a suitcase or two, put together some money that I had because I'd been making some money from video gaming, and I bought a Greyhound ticket. And in the middle of the night, I ran away from home. At 16 years old, in the middle of the school year, I had a job, I had friends, I had everything. I just packed one night and left. I didn't tell anyone. I got about, let's say, a day and a half into the journey, maybe a little less, before my grandparents realized that I was gone, and that I ran away from home to go and see my girlfriend in California. So I guess my parents spoke to her parents, who naturally thought I was crazy, because who does that? Or in the name of love, blah blah blah. And I was genuinely just like, I had been dealing with abandonment issues my whole life, and the idea that someone was just gonna slam a door in my face and not tell me anything, I figured, fuck it, I'll just go knock on her door and I'll ask her, what's up? Are we breaking up? And go from there, And it seems so innocent to me at the time, but it freaked out my parents, and it freaked out her parents, and I didn't do anything, so they couldn't like have the police come after me for any kind of disorderly conduct, and instead my grandparents just reported me as a runaway, right? So I traveled 3 days on a Greyhound. I get all the way to California, and I get to Irvine. I get off the bus. I go buy myself a prepaid phone because I didn't have a cell phone at the time. And I'm like chilling in this neighborhood called Irvine. It's like the bubble, right? Like every condo that you go into has like one street in, and then like this huge bubble, and then like mini houses all between the rows. But you can only go out the one way you came in, right? So I only knew this one place because I had gone to see her so often, and I came into town, and I was going up the block, and I like went to go knock on her door, and her dad came to the door and was like, called me crazy and freaking out, because they had called me when I was on the way. The police had called me and was like, you should go home. She doesn't want to speak. Her parents don't want you to speak to her. And I was like, okay, well, I don't care what her parents want. What does she want? Because now I was like, is her parents, stopping us from being together? I was so confused, and I wasn't getting any answers. So I was like, I'm just gonna come knock on the door, and unless she told me she didn't want me to, which I never heard from her, you know, not once during this whole crazy story that I ever hear from the girl, just her parents. And so I get down to California. I knock on the door. Her dad, you know, answers it, says she's not there, that I'm not going to speak to her. Starts freaking the fuck out. Says he's going to call the police. So I'm like, bye. So I leave. I'm like walking around town, just kind of doing my own thing. You know, again, oblivious, because here I am, like waiting to see if I can like just bump into her and like ask her what the fuck's going on. And the police start looking for me, right? So I'm like walking around down the street, and police car walks up to me. Police car pulls up next to me. It's like, "Are you Javier?" And I'm just like ignoring him, just walking away. He's like, "Are you Javier?" And I'm like, "What's it to you?" And he's like, "Can I see some ID?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, we got someone matching description that's not supposed to be here. They're a runaway, and you know, we're supposed to bring him to his parents." And I was just like, "Oh, you know, that's not me, blah, blah, blah." I start walking away. He gets out of his car, you know, checks my non-existent ID. It says I match the description, sits me on the curb. Basically, I get arrested. I decided to run for it, though. As I got on the curb, I took off. Got a pretty good distance. I ended up getting picked up by another cop who was crossing paths, and they didn't arrest me, but like I got scooped up. They brought me down to the station. I hadn't been sleeping very much because I'd been there like 2 days, and I'd expected to like have something worked out. So I'd kind of just been chilling at the community pool that was there, and sleeping on top of the canopy that was there, you know, because why not? And it was beautiful out there. So now I'm at the police station. They don't know what to do with me because I didn't break any laws, and I'm perfectly normal. I'm not acting crazy. I'm just a runaway. You know, I'm literally across the entire country as a runaway. So they call my grandparents. My grandparents were like, "Ha, you know, fuck him. He can get himself home," which is, I guess, kind of how I expected to go down. And my grandparents were pretty strict in that aspect. So they're like, you know, you got himself there. He can get himself home. You know, I'm 17 at this point. Not 16. Sorry, I was 17 at this point. My birthday was about 6 months away. We had been dating from I was like the end of 15 until like mid 17, and so I'm not an adult, but I'm not necessarily a kid. So they ended up bringing me to a group home. I ended up going to this place in Orange County. It was across from a mall called The Block. I'm not exactly sure what the group home was called. I think it was just called the Orange County Group Home. It was like half an hour away from Irvine. And so they bring me to this place, and as I'm going through intake, I'm like super on edge, super agitated because I haven't slept at all. And the cop brings me in. He, you know, puts me in intake. I have myself confiscated. I have to go to the bathroom, and I noticed that there's an exit sign, like right there. It says exit, and it's pointed that way. But like I came in from this way, but the sign says exit, and it's pointed that way. So in my head, I'm like, I can escape this, right? This is where things start to get really interesting for me. So I go to the bathroom once. They feed me. I'm sitting there planning my escape. As I'm going to the bathroom, a second time, I planned it where I would go up to the desk and ask to use the bathroom. And like right here is the desk, the people. My wallet and my phone are right here on the table, right? So I go up to them like, "Can I use the bathroom again?" And as soon as they say sure, I grab my bag of stuff, just turn around and bolt out that door that says exit and start sprinting as fast as I can, right? So I have no idea now, but I realized this after being there for a while, that what I had just done was run into the facility, right? So to get familiar with this group home, you got the group home right here, right? And then these two fucking huge gates that go way high, right? And then the facility itself is about a mile long all the way to the back, right? It's just these two, it's like as big as like you would expect a big house to be, and then all the way to the back, a mile long. And the back of this place is an aqueduct, right? And if you never know what an aqueduct is, think like Terminator, right? When you see them in the 16-wheeler and they're driving through like the middle of fucking nowhere, that's an aqueduct. So that's behind the place. On the left side of the building is the courthouse. So you got the big ass wall separating you, and then a fucking courthouse. And on the right side of the building, you have the actual adult jail, right? So the big wall that's there, that's gated, jumping into that goes into the actual jail yard, right? So I didn't know this at the time. So I hit the door, I walk out, I see this big open like space. I'm just like running through. I don't know where the fuck I'm going, but I'm tired. There's a container, like the containers that go on the back of the trucks, a container there. So I pull some, you know, ninja shit. I hit the wall, the gate, jump off the gate, climb on top of the container, boom, laying flat on the container. I hear people running past me. "Did you see him go this way? No, go get him. You see that way? I saw him run this way." I'm just like tired. So, and like, they have actual cops that work there, like security. So I'm sitting on top of this thing, and I'm like, what do I do now? Like, I hear the voices go away. I'm like, fuck it, let me call a cab, right? So I knew the block was across the street. I saw it coming in. pulled up my phone. I'm like, call a cab company. Hey, I need a cab. I'm at the block. Let me know when you're here. So again, I have no idea how far this facility or big it is and like that. So I wait. I'm on top of this container. It is hot as fuck. I'm on top of this red container in the California sun, just getting toasted. So I'm like, I need to get down or I'm gonna fucking die. So I climb down and I'm start walking through the facility, kind of like like I'm here. And I realized at this point now I'm actually in the place, right? I didn't run out, I ran in. So I'm like kind of just walking around like, how big is this place? When I get spotted, as soon as someone sees me, there he is. I just start running again, right? So I just take off. I'm running through buildings. I'm zagging. I'm like, people are trying to cut me off. I'm jumping over them, like straight up ninja shit. I eventually get to the back where I realize it's just giant like open playground, like a basketball court, and then like a gym on this side, and the two gates that I was referring to, and then a big open space and another big gate that leads to the aqueduct. Now I'm like, fuck it. I go for the fence, right? So I hit the fence. I start climbing it. I get about a quarter of the way up, maybe about halfway, before one of the security guards finally catch up, pulls out her taser and points it at me and goes, you either get down or I'm going to bring you down. And I'm like, you wouldn't bring me down from this high up. I'll hurt myself. And she's like, that's a risk I'm willing to take. You're about to climb into the jail. And I was like, oh, fuck. So I got down. Needless to say, they fucking, boom, to the ground, tackle me the full 9 yards, restrain me, dragged my ass to a padded room because I started going fucking Hulk on them because, I hadn't slept for like 2 days. So, like, the idea of being taken in to a place that I didn't want to be to, the equivalent of jail, set me into Hulk. So I started freaking the fuck out and, like, threw me into a padded room. Eventually I calmed down. I don't remember much. I remember coming to and, like, then falling asleep in, like, a straitjacket. I woke up the next day feeling marvelous, needless to say. I got up, I was in the room. I came out. They were like, you look much better. And I was just like, I feel much better. Like, I haven't slept. I was fucking freaking out. I'm sorry. Like, then it kind of all fell into place that I was in this, I was stuck here. So I got to meet the people right from the get. I got stuck on AWOL alert, which is what I did. I tried to escape, and that made me stuck with a person for like 3 months straight. I had like a bodyguard, like a chaperone everywhere I went. I went to take a shit. The chaperone sat outside my door. It was like that. So the next three months went by pretty quick. I only had 7 months to my birthday, and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna get stuck here to my birthday. Like, I could already see it. School was kind of like fucking up. I was worried about school, but they had like this bullshit idea of school there, so I figured maybe I'd get a credit for attendance, right? So I go to school there. I'm kind of just hanging out, meeting people, fucking doing nothing really, playing in the arcade, the gym. They had a bunch of cool shit you could do. I got to meet a lot of people, but I never got to speak to her. I didn't call her at that point. I had no idea how to call her. It became the whole trip became now like trying to get home, right? So this is where shit starts getting really interesting. So they take me off AWOL alert, and at that point, like, everyone was kind of confused as to why I hadn't been like taken home yet. I told them my grandparents were basically like, you're fucked, and that I would probably end up having to check myself out. And they were like, no, the state will definitely figure it out before then. And I'm like, I doubt that. Like, I've been in the system long enough to feel like I put myself in a bad spot. So I'm like waiting to get off AWOL because I'm fucking out of this place, right? Like, I've already been here for 3 months. I've scoped the layout. I know how the system works. I know what to do. I have a whole plan, right? This is where shit starts becoming like James Bond. So I made friends with this like little 13-year-old kid who also wanted to escape, and he was just waiting for me to be free, and then we were gonna book it. So I convinced him, like, my AWOL's up, let's do this week. He had a $200 gift card. We were gonna get out at the same time. He was gonna feed me and give me whatever I needed money-wise to survive until I get home. So I get off AWOL alert. The day I get off AWOL alert, everyone at the facility knows what it is, right? They come to check on me. They're like, hey, your AWOL status is up. What you wearing today? And they have a little clipboard, a little book. What you wearing today? And I knew that they knew, right? So I'm wearing like 3 different outfits, and and it shows, right? Because I got like one pair of pants, shorts, and then another pair of shorts that are bigger, and then a pair of jeans on. And they're like, what you wearing there, huh? Got 2 pairs of pants on? And I'm like, they knew, right? They knew it was up because I told them I'm not fucking staying here until I'm 18. Like, this is not happening. So I get permission to go to the gym, which is like, let me put you on a map. So like picture like two giant, like this is a giant row, right? This is a walking path here. This is the giant row, and anywhere on your left and right, there's dorms, like buildings here, and like one of them's cafeteria or whatever. But then you have this giant walking path, right? Then it kind of curves out to like a little open box. In that box, you have a playground, and the box extends past the building because then you can walk behind the buildings, like it's like perpendicular to where you were. You can walk backwards behind buildings. Then in front of the gym, in front of the playground, there's a gym, and that area I told you about where I climbed the fence. So I'm walking with this kid. We have permission to go to the gym. All they do is walk you. You know, to walk into the gym. Roger. So we're walking out of the dorm. So like, the row I'm talking about, right? We're on this side. So we come out, we hit it. We're walking this way. We get to that little box where the playground is. And at this point, we know that we need to go back behind the buildings because the exit is at the front of the facility, and the gym's in the corner of the opposite at the end. So as soon as we're walking, we know people are going to call it because that's basically what they do. They have staff on walkies that are all throughout the facility in different places. And if something's askew, one person walkies, the whole place knows. So we start walking. We get to the point where the playground is, and we got to make a right to go back. So as we walk, we start walking to the right, and like I'm with this kid, and we're walking, and they're like, "Hey, aren't you supposed to be going to the gym?" He just says, "Run!" And we take off running. We're like sprinting now. Suddenly you hear the walkie goes, "We got you trying to AWOL to the front," and then we just sirens start blaring the whole place. Fuck. So we're like sprinting, right? Our plan was at the front of the place where we came in originally, there's a giant another gate, but typically that gate opens and the vans pull in and park, and they shut the gates. We knew this, right? So our plan was to hit the fucking van, sprint over the back, jump over the fence, boom, freedom. It worked, right? So we get to the front, we're sprinting. No one has any idea what we're doing, so we make it there, steer and clear. We hit the fucking vans, boom, boom, run straight over the vans, jump into the next yard. Not realizing that it was like a 6-foot drop, but we like jumped into where the good behaving inmates get to have their visitation. It's like a little courtyard, kind of in the open public, and the only thing that separates them from like freedom is like the small like waist high or like chest high like spiked gate, like the ones that went to here. For like me at the time, that was like fuck. For the kid, even worse. So, I boost him over. He goes to the other side. As soon as he hits the ground, I start climbing over, and as I'm climbing over, I got this fucking big ass hoodie and a book in my thing because I was like a journal, right? And like a couple pairs of shirts on, so I'm like sweating balls. And as I'm climbing over, he lands and he goes, "Cop!" And I'm like, "What?" And I look up, and as soon as I look up, I slip. I fall down upside down, thinking I'm gonna die impaled on this fence. Instead, I get impaled by my leg, my jean. Catch that shit upside down, and I'm like hanging upside down by leg, just kind of hovering with like 1 foot here, and I'm like, fuck. And the cop walks over, and she's got her hand on her gun, and she thought that I was breaking out or kidnapping this kid, right? Now, I knew the rules of the place where as soon as you get to the other side of the fence, the staff there, the security, the police who are on site can no longer touch you. They can't do shit. Neither can the people next door. They need to call the state. They need to call the county from like whatever brought you. They need to find your ass, right? So I start shouting as soon as she's like going for her gun. I'm like, we're AWOLing, we're part of this facility. She immediately understands, she backs away, and she just kind of like watches. So like as soon as I say that, I start jiggling, boom, I fall to the ground. We get up, we fucking take off running. Boom, we go across the street to the block. So we're hanging out there at the block. Fuck, what do we do now? So like, fuck it. Let me call a cab, right? So he calls a cab. We decided to go separate ways. Like I remember exactly what happened. Like he's like, I'm gonna call a cab to this place. Where do you need to go? He paid for the cab with his card. I went back to the same town that she lived in because that's the only place I knew. That was probably what fucked me from this point forward. But that's the only place I knew. So I went back there. I didn't have no shit on me, no stuff, no clothes, no money, no wallet, nada. And I go back to the town, and I'm just hanging out at the community pool there, which you need to have a card to swipe in. But for the most part, people just open the door, right? So I'm hanging out there. People come in, they're hanging out. I clearly look bummed out. People start talking to me like, "Hey, what's up?" I tell them my story. They're like, "That's fucking wicked, dude. I can't believe you did all that for love. I can't believe you haven't spoken to the girl yet." Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what happens when you're like impulsive and crazy, I guess." So now they're like, "Well, we need to get you home, man. Like, you can't just be chilling here, missing school, all this shit. Like, you need to get you home." So one of them pulls up this ad that they've seen on a Greyhound or bus. It was like Run 800 Runaway, right? And all you have to do is call them and tell them you're a runaway, and they will hook you up with a ticket to go home. And like they had to conference call my grandma, and they basically with a translator told my grandma the program, what it does, and all my grandma had to be willing to do would be be willing to accept me back into her home. So she was like, "Sure, if you can get himself home, no problem." It was a little bit more brutal than that, but essentially that's what she said. So boom, they give me the ticket. I'm set. I can take any Greyhound the next day. Tickets in my name waiting for me at the station. I just got to show up. Like, perfect. So the kids who are at the pool were like, you've slept here before, just sleep here again. None of us can house you, but we'll come back tomorrow. We'll get you. We'll bring you to the bus station. It's like, fuck yeah, right? So as I'm sitting there chilling, suddenly, whoop, cops roll up. Apparently, they got report that I was back in the area, right? Fuck. So I'm chilling there, like I'm like freaking out because there's like nowhere where the pool is. It's like open gated. Once a cop pulls up to the front, you can hop the little fence and he can still see you. And that's how I got caught the first time. Um, so I mean, that's essentially what I was hoping I wouldn't have to come to. So the cops come in, they're asking everyone for ID. I played cool as fuck, right? Everyone's drinking. I'm like in the corner with one of their laptops, kind of just chilling out. And they're like coming over and they're like, they think I have no shit, so I look less conspicuous. And they're like, you have ID? And I'm like, oh no, I'm sorry. I just came here to do some homework. I live right down right there. And I point at like a house like in the distance. And it's like, okay, cool. They leave me alone. The cops leave. I give the laptop back to the friend, and I'm like, I'm going to get out of here. I have a feeling this is going to bite me in the ass. So, like, I walk out the gate, and I'm like, see you guys. I start walking down the block. All of a sudden, I hear, whoop, whoop. Cop starts blaring right toward me. I'm out. I just take off, start running. As I said, this is like one of those communities where once you go in, the only way out is behind me. So, like, I run straight to the end, go down the grass that's there, and then right off the grass, open big like 3-lane, not an expressway, but like in California, all the fucking streets are like 3 lanes wide, and then boom, another community across the street. So I sprint off across the street, run into the housing. I'm sitting there like trying to run now. I don't realize it's the time, but I fucked myself. It was another one of those communities. They came in through one side, and that was it. They had the whole place surrounded. So I'm sitting there just kind of like hiding the staircases, like just praying that they don't find. I'm literally on my hands and knees in prayer position like this, just in case they turn a corner and see me, they don't shoot me, right? So I'm sitting there like this. A lady comes up, she sees me sitting there, and she just looks at me, and I'm like praying, and she just goes, and she walks right past me. She just like looks at me and just goes, okay, just walks past me. I'm in my head thinking she's gonna call the cops or maybe even let me in, but it didn't get that far. She goes up the stairs, goes inside her house. Within 2 seconds, I hear the footsteps of cops like around the area, checking every spot, and I'm like, yep, boom, they got me. Boom, they turn the corner, taser's out already. I'm on the ground, like, don't shoot. I'm just like, same fucking cop that got me the first time. He's just like, you couldn't go anywhere but here. You had to come back here. You could have gone to any fucking town besides Irvine and you would have been fine. But you just had to come back here. And I'm like, how the fuck was I supposed to know that? Like, this is the only place I know. I've never been to California before. I wasn't even trying to see here. I was just trying to, like, figure out what I'm going to do to get home. I even started telling him, like, I got a plan. I already got a ticket to go home. I explained to him the Greyhound thing. He's putting me in handcuffs, putting me in the back of the car, bring me to the police station, and, like, I'm telling him the whole ride, like, I have a ticket home. Just drop me off at a gas station. Fucking open your window large enough for me to crawl through. Pretend you didn't see me. He's like, it doesn't work that way. I'll talk to my sergeant about it, see if we can't get you home. I'm surprised you're still here. You shouldn't be here anymore. You should already be home with your family. I told him, look, my parents don't really give a fuck. They basically said, you got yourself into the mess, get yourself out of it. And so I was. What the fuck? What else could I do? I wasn't going to stay there until I was 18. So this time around, I'm much nicer. They bring me to the precinct. I'm trying to behave myself because I'm thinking I might get dropped off at the bus station. A couple hours go by, and I ended up speaking to the sergeant. Comes in, is like, yeah, man, look, I just wanted to be the one to tell you I'm sorry, but we can't let you do it. It's too much of a liability on us. If something happens to you in transit, no one here is willing to go with you that far. We can't just put you on a bus and send you home. It's on us if you get hurt. And I'm like, I fucking got myself all the way here, right? I broke out of a group home. I think I can get myself safely home if you just put me on a bus. And they're like, we can't do it. So I'm like, fuck. I'm getting really upset. I'm like bawling my eyes out. This is fucking ridiculous. Now I'm thinking I'm really stuck. So they start bringing me back to the group home. And I had made quite a number of friends at the group home. And I guess there had been a bet, like a pool going on people who were wondering like if I was going to escape right when I got off AWOL and if I would make it, right? So I get back to the facility. And one of the guys who I had been really, really friendly with, whose name I cannot for the life of me remember, was the acting like director at the time, like the person who handles intakes, instead of the usual bitch that I can't stand. And he just starts laughing. He's just like, man, we thought you got away. And like I'm laughing, like the cops leave, right? It's just me and him because it's so late at night, like there's not a lot of movement. And I'm talking to him, and I'm like crying, and I'm telling him, I got away, how I escaped. He's like, bro, we were sitting here talking about like it was a movie. I swear to God, like I wish I could show you the footage on the cameras, because they had cameras in the joint. They're like, we straight up like, this is a movie scene right now. I can't believe these kids just pulled this off. All of it. They got all of it on tape in front, and me in the front of the building getting caught, the whole 9 yards. They got all of it. And they're like, we definitely thought you got away. That was some wicked stuff. And I was just like, confused as fuck, But at the same time, I was laughing about it. I was having a good time. I'm not gonna lie, I was having a good time doing this whole experience. And I start crying and telling them about my ticket, and I'm like, I was so close. I'm so close. I have a ticket in my name. I just have to get to a Greyhound station today sometime, and I'm good to go home. I'm freaking out. Like I'm thinking I'm about to get stuck on AWOL alert, all this shit again, right? This is where shit gets fucking great for me. He turns around and he goes, well, here's the thing. So, like, it's just me here right now, and I'm not security. So, like, if you're going to roll, let's say, for example, turn around and run out through that door right now, I'm not going to do anything besides pick up that phone right there and say, he ran. And that's it. Because at that point, even my security guard can't come get you. So, I'm just leaving that out there. And I'm like, okay. So, like, in my head, I'm like, is this a trick, right? Like, am I going to run through those doors and there's going to be, like, a squad of cars just... And then I'm like, are you serious? And he goes, yeah, man, I'm not going to be the one to keep you here. And I'm sure as hell not going to risk putting myself in harm's way, because he saw me freak out. He needed one of their, like, big Hawaiian guys to hold me down. He's like, I'm sure as hell not going to wrestle with you and put myself in harm's way to keep you here. So, you do you, right? And I'm like, at this point, I'm like slowly backing away to the door, right? Like, okay. And as I get to the door and my hand's on it, I'm like, can I get like a 10-minute head start? And he's just like, I think I can do that. And I love you, man. Thank you. I'm going to get home. And he was like, call me when you do. I hit that door, boom, 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 start running fast as hell, sprint across the street to the block. I'm like, I'm fucking out of here. I'm out of here. I'm not dealing with it no more. So now I'm really happy, right? I'm thinking I'm escaped. But I'm in Orange County, and in a city called Orange, and I needed to go to Santa Ana, I believe, to get the Greyhound. It was far as fuck. I didn't know this at the time, but it was pretty far. So, and this is where I met the guy who, as far as I can tell, was like the most generous, honest man I've ever met. He's the reason why I kind of set out on like my mission to spread love and to just be kind to everyone I meet, because you just never know, what you might do for that person. And if it wasn't for this guy, I don't even know if I would have gotten home, And I never did remember his name or anything like that, but he was an angel, He was like the embodiment of an angel on earth. So I ran across the street to the block, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna get to this place, and I don't know where it is. So I call it. I'm sitting there like freaking out, and I guess some guy walked past me and I asked him for a cigarette. And he was like, sure. He handed it to me, and like I was fidgeting, and he was like, is everything okay? And I was like, not really. Is it okay if I use your phone? I need to go somewhere and I don't know where it is. And he's like, sure, no problem. So he like pulls out his phone. He's like, where are you trying to go? And I'm trying to go to Santa Ana. I need to catch a bus. And he's just like, I think I've heard the name before. Here, let's look it up. And like I pull it up on his phone, and it's like a good 10 miles away or something like that, maybe a little bit more. But it's like, I look like you could walk it, but it was definitely not a walkable thing. It was like a highway thing. So, but I'm crazy. I'm like, I'll walk it. Like I need to get there, So I'm like, okay, thank you. I need to go. And he's just like, wait, what, like, you're going to walk there? And I'm like, I don't really have a choice. I don't have any money or a ride, but I need to get there. And he's just like, oh, that's ridiculous, man. You're not going to, that's highway. That's dangerous. You're not going to walk there. Like, I'll give you a ride. And I'm like, are you sure? That seemed pretty far. And he's just like, yeah, no, it's no problem. Come with me. We'll go. Mind you, in my head, I'm like freaking out because I'm like AWOL right now. And it's like pretty late at night for the most part. It's like 10 o'clock at night. And, so I'm like, okay, let's do it. I don't have a choice. And, we start walking to his car, and I'm like, thank you so much. And he's just like, yeah, no problem. You look like you need some help. What's going on? So, like, I felt kind of, I guess, shamed and embarrassed about, how everything that had gone down. And I guess I didn't want to seem weird to a stranger. So I gave him, like, a condensed version of why I had come, why I had left home. And, like, I ran away from home. Not for a girl or anything like that. Just ran away from home and got stuck here. And, he gave me his phone. He was like, here, call your dad. Tell your dad that you're going to be going home. I want to make sure you get on that bus. And like my dad was not the one who I ran away from home from. My dad was just like a shouty figure in my life at that point. But we were very friendly. We were like friends basically, not father son. And I call him up and I'm telling him, I met this guy. He's giving me a ride. I tell him the condensed version of my Greyhound, and my dad's talking to this guy in Spanish on the phone. Tell him thank you. He's an angel. Yada yada. And just blessing him and whatnot. And then he hangs up and him and I are talking and I'm like, so like, where are you from? And he's like, he was like a chef who just left France or Italy, and he had just left there to come here and finish his schooling and to attend this like really prestigious school for culinary arts and like be a chef. He wanted to be like a famous chef, and like it was really cool. He just randomly he was like, I can't just walk past people who need help and like not help them if they need it. And so we get to the Greyhound station, and I get my ticket, and he's like, "I'm not leaving till you get on that bus," because he knew, he assumed that I was, going to run away again. And I was like, "No, man, you couldn't pay me to stay off this bus." And as we're sitting there, he's like, "Hey, are you hungry?" And I'm like, I hadn't eaten at all at that point, so I guess my stomach answered for me. And he was just like laughing. He was like, "Yeah, let's get you some food, man. If you're gonna be going home, on a bus for 3 days, you're not gonna eat, for a while." So I'm like, "Damn, it didn't even occur to me, right? I don't have my stuff. I have no wallet, no money, no nothing." I'm like, "Fuck, he's right." So I take him up on his offer. He buys me a fuck ton of food, and I eat till it hurts. And he wishes me good luck. And we walk over to my bus as it pulls up. And as we're boarding, he like pulls out his wallet. He gave me some money, and told me to just make sure I got home, and that he wanted to make sure that I ate on the way there. And he didn't give me much, but it was enough to like have the dollar menu for like 3-4 days if I needed to. And I was like, I was almost bawling at that point. Because I'm not used to that kind of kindness. I'm still not. So I got on the bus, and I guess that was like I closed the one chapter. The bus ride home was like a totally different story. So the bus ride home, I got to meet a fuck ton of cool people too. Because of my story and because I was riding there with no stuff, I got to meet a lot of people who were going to be there long term. And first I met this couple. I don't even know if they were a couple. They were just these two people that they came on together. They had been backpacking through Mexico and they met one another, and now they were just going home. And home was like Arizona or some shit like that. But they smoked a fuck ton of pot. And I told them my story and why I was there, and they got a kick out of it and smoked me up at every stop. They got off and smoked that. So I was high like the whole ride home. And halfway through, this big dude named Justice Freedom III, darkest skinned guy with the whitest, like thick hick accent, like kind of accent, and he was hilarious. His name was Justice Freedom III. His sister's name was Liberty Freedom, I believe, and he was funny as fuck. And I mean, like, he would flirt openly with women as they got on the bus, but like he would do it and like, look at the shitter on that critter. Oh, oh my God, he had us dying for at least 2 days while he was there. And as he got on the bus, there was like this guy who had been discharged from the military, whose name I can't remember, who got on the bus as well and had been clearly like abusing his prescription medications and drinking it with them. So like you'd see him on the bus and he got sitting next to Justice, and they would talk as a result, and Justice would fuck with him, and he would fall asleep on his, like, I don't know if he was drinking and taking Xanax or something. He would pass out and like fall asleep on Justice, and Justice would be like freaking out, like, you better move, like he's making jokes at him. And he ended up getting real bad at one rest stop, and we were all friends at this point. And he goes to the rest stop, carries all his stuff in, leaves it all on the counter, and like passes out while he's at the urinal. I shit you not. He's sitting at the urinal like this with one hand, and suddenly I just see it, like he just starts falling asleep, like KO style. And I grabbed him, like, shit, and lugged him on my shoulder, dragged him back to the bus, got him on, told the bus driver, he's fine, don't worry about it. He'd been doing this the whole time. Put him in his chair. Boom, a couple hours later, he wakes up. What happened? We explained to him, he passed out. If it wasn't for me, his ass would have gotten left there. He was cool as hell. He was shocked that I basically paid it forward. It wasn't about the same thing. I couldn't just see someone there struggling, and like, it was like, I understand that now. It was like almost immediate. And he gave me his Zune. He got off that next day, and I still had a day and a half to go. And he was like, man, I don't even know where I would be without you. He gave me his MP3 player. It was like fully charged. This should give you enough tunes to get you home. Good luck. Make sure you get there. Boom. And I spent the next day comfortably listening to music and not being bothered by anyone, taking up the whole back seat of the bus and just sleeping. I got home. My grandparents, I came home. Oh, you're home. Come in. That was it. No, like, freaking out, nothing. They took away my computer, took away the internet. Like, that was obviously not allowed to have any of that anymore because I have girlfriend on the internet. Like, stupid shit that they didn't approve of. And yeah, school. They got my attendance credits for the other place I was at, and I was already so far ahead in the schoolwork that I was essentially just in my senior year taking gym classes for credits. So like when I got back and met my superintendent, he just kind of laughed. He was like, I can't believe, yeah, I can't believe you did that. We talked about it and told him the story, and he was like, holy shit, you should like, turn that into a movie script. That sounds incredible. And I was like, yeah, sometimes I like to tell that story. But as I said, I take away from that is that's where I'm willing to go for love. That's what love means to me. And especially when you're the kind of person who likes to have like closure, that kind of love can be hard to have no closure on. But I've gotten that whole story gave me like a good idea of what I would do for love, and it became easier to like, you know, control that amount of affection for somebody. And like I've never had that problem since then. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys have ever done for love and what's the craziest story you have.